Welcome to the culture. We rest at the pulse of the community, providing all things news, music, fashion, events, and everything that we talk about in between. It's a lifestyle. We are the culture.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of The Culture. I'm your host, Jessica Modkins, and today it's all about our kids. Joining us is the Vice Chair for Miami-Dade County School Board, Dr. Gallen. Welcome to the show this afternoon, Dr. Gallen.
Good afternoon, Jessica. It's always a pleasure to be on the culture with you and your team to really deal with the critical issues that are affecting our community and that will impact our culture. Thank you on this beautiful Friday.
Yes, it is beautiful Friday in Miami-Dade County. And I'm pleased to announce that MDCPS has partnered with the county to offer vaccinations. What led to the partnership?
As we indicated at the beginning of this pandemic, for us to move forward as a community, quite frankly, as a state and a nation, it was going to require the partnership of all stakeholders throughout. We learned that education was at the epicenter of everything that moves throughout our community. But we understood that we couldn't do it alone. We were going to need the partnership and support of parents, of community organizations, and of local government. And in this particular case, as consistently they've done, the county has really stepped in and been a tremendous partner, whether it was providing initial officers at the onset of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act to our schools that needed police officers, and in this particular case, facilitating the vaccination of community residents and stakeholders, and most importantly, our children. So again, we were very proud to partner with them to utilize our facilities as a hub because in most cases, our schools are at the center of communities. And we're very, very excited to continue to partner with them to mitigate the spread and to get people vaccinated so that we can move even closer to a degree of normalcy.
Wonderful. And tomorrow, Saturday, May the 22nd, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Pfizer vaccinations will be given at North Miami Senior High School, Miami-Jackson Senior High, Miami Sunset Senior High School, Homestead Senior High School, Robert Morgan Educational Center, Hialeah Gardens Senior High School, and I'm going to make sure that at the close we put these addresses in case someone is interested in getting vaccinated tomorrow from 9 to 5. Is this going to be a continued effort?
Yes, we're going to continue this as long as we can, definitely throughout the summer. I think it's important that not only as public servants, but as community leaders, we lead on this particular issue. We said at the onset, we're not going to deal with narratives that don't rely on science. We've now learned that the science has proven positively powerful and the vaccinations work. As the vice chair and as a community servant, I had an opportunity to share my experience being fully vaccinated at the onset, along with members of the community. So I think we have to lead by example, but also to eliminate many of the anxiety that often comes from our community, and specifically the Black community, where there's been a lot of distrust in terms of vaccination. So we have to lead by example, but also we have to bring those services and those supports in close proximity to the people. And in this particular case, as you enumerated, we have sites from Florida City to County Line Road. So we have sites throughout the community, mainly at our high schools and at various schools throughout the Miami-Dade County Public Schools.
Thank you for that, Dr. Gallen. And the last time we had you on the show, we were right at the point where you were going to have your town hall. And I understand that all of the results from the surveys and in-person meetings are in. What were some of the findings that you all were able to get from those quantitative and qualitative activities?
The findings are simply focused on the fact that the community understands, appreciates, and wants to hold us accountable for our mission. Yes, our mission is definitely to be a partner in the community on various endeavors, but at the end of the day, the purpose and the mission of the Miami-Dade County Public Schools is to educate children. So despite many of the successes that we've had over the years, many of the awards, the accolades, and even the A ratings, our community still expects us to get it right when it comes to the education of our children. We've had an opportunity to talk about the learning regression challenges that we're going to face. Many of our parents and our community stakeholders have come to understand that the academic achievements and gains that our children have realized are going to be abated based on the pandemic. And most recently, through an item that I brought forward, that despite the fact that many of our students have succeeded, we still have challenges in closing the achievement gap for poor Black and Hispanic children. So learning has to be at the epicenter. It has to represent the fulcrum of the work of a large school system, of any school system, of any school, of any classroom, because at the end of the day, that is our mission. So the results did speak very loudly, very lucidly, that our community understands that that is our mission, and that our community looks forward to holding us accountable and ensuring that we're transparent in our ongoing work to discuss the academic improvements and the academic opportunities of our children.
And congratulations on Summer 305. We talked last year this time about COVID slide and retention learning, but this year it is open, vast. Tell us about this quite extensive summer camp program that Miami-Dade County Public Schools is offering.
Yes, for the first time, I would say in almost decades, we're offering a program for the summer from pre-K through 12. With the tremendous support and infusion of federal resources from ESSER 2, the American Rescue Plan Act, which Dade County is going to receive $1.1 billion in funding. We do not have an excuse as relates to resources to provide all of the necessary supports academically and through enrichment that our students are going to need. So this summer, again, we're offering a program for pre-K through 12. Jessica, you know, historically, our summer programs based on decreased funding over the years has primarily focused on students who needed to make up credits, who needed a course for graduation, and in many regards, those third grade students who were not successful on state assessments and faced retention. But this year it's different. It's not an either or, it's a both and. It's a program that's going to address those students who need remediation, support those parents and families that want enrichment, and provide an opportunity for students who want to accelerate. That, for me, as a 30-year veteran educator, that is a comprehensive educational program. It encompasses the needs of all of our students. And again, we have a tremendous opportunity to serve record numbers of students this summer. So we encourage our parents and our families, speak directly to your school principals, see what programs are offered there, and see what will be in the best interest of your children. But yes, there will be some need for students to deal with programs to address and mitigate some of the academic regressions that we've had as a result of the pandemic. But again, we also have programs to remind students that yes, we want to focus on the reading, the writing, and the arithmetic, but that learning should be fun. So we're going to have some things this summer that are enjoyable, that are inspiring, and that deal with the arts and other programs for our students to really reacclimate them to what school is all about.
Great job. Great job. I just remember a year ago this time trying to think through how to help my children scholastically to be at their best for the next school term. And here you all, once again, doing what we as parents here in Miami-Dade County need. We need a school board that is going to work for us. And we've got to take a quick sponsored break. When we return, it'll be all about our kids and masks. And we'll have more with Dr. Gallen right after this.
Hit me with your best shot. Come on and hit me with your best shot. Hit me with your best shot. Fire away.
The COVID-19 vaccine is here. We're giving it our best shot for a strong, healthy community. Find out more at miamidade.gov/vaccine. Take your best shot at life. Get vaccinated.
Welcome back to The Culture. I am joined by Dr. Steve Gallen, Vice Chair for Miami-Dade County School Board. Dr. Gallen, School Superintendent Cavallo issued a statement that for the 2021-2022 school year, masks should be voluntary. Where are we with respect to masks and next year for students, your your school board meeting on Wednesday was quite long with the public hearing and parents speaking out in regards to masks and their children. Where are we on this, and what is the process? I think would be a better question.
Well, the initial declaration obviously has come from the CDC, and we've said at the onset that we are going to guide our decision-making process through the use of data and the use of science. But Jessica, it is exactly that. It is a process, and that process obviously cannot be done in isolation. It cannot be done in a vacuum. And what we've done is taken a very engaging approach with our medical experts, and that has representatives from throughout this county. Shout out to Dr. Linda Brown, who represents me in District 1. She is definitely a proficient medical expert who has served on this community, on this committee. But what we wanted to do is get the input of those experts, and again, take some guidance from the CDC, but also being mindful of some of the state provisions that are coming out of Tallahassee. All of those things combined have to also be juxtaposed with our letter of understanding with our union. There were some declarations that were made at the onset in partnership with UTD and other bargaining units of some things that we would do to, number one, keep our employees and our students safe. So we cannot totally discard those obligations and those commitments that we made. So initially, I believe the superintendent responded to the CDC recommendations and declaration relative to the masks being optional for outdoor activities again. But we had to consider the obligation and the discourse that will be necessary with our unions based on the memorandum of understanding that we have with them. Last week's meeting, well, this week's meeting obviously had parents that came in and community stakeholders, because I will say a lot of them were not parents. Their voices still needed to be heard nonetheless. But we did hear from many parents and stakeholders that wanted masks removed. So we have to reconcile all of that information, and as I indicated, go through a process. And that process currently will be based on science. So we will consider the CDC recommendations for those individuals that are able to be outside without the mask. We will consider and contemplate individuals who have been vaccinated, because that is an option for employees to get. And we even have options for children as young as 12. And last but not least, we will consider the obligation that we have to our union relative to the letter of understanding. And that means we cannot simply, as an administration, we cannot simply, as a board, move forward with a decision without having a conversation and some consensus with the individuals who we have agreements with and the individuals who are on the front lines of this work. So that's what we're going to do moving forward. But it is my anticipation that we will get through that particular process. We will have an opportunity for the CDC recommendations that are coming out of Washington to be implemented, many of the state guidelines that are coming out of Tallahassee to be implemented, but we have to do it in a very pragmatic, inclusive, and communicative manner. And that obviously is something that we had to deal with this past Wednesday, and we expect to have that resolved moving forward. What do I envision? I envision next school year, all of our students will be back in school physically. There will be no virtual learning options provided through the pandemic and through an emergency order. Parents obviously have their right to choose how they want their children educated, but the Miami-Dade County Public School will be moving to a full physical educational program. As it relates to masks, we will navigate through this summer to see what the science continues to reveal, and continue to work with our relevant stakeholders and bargaining units to reach consensus on what's the best course of action for the safety, security, health, and welfare of our students and our staff.
I'm going to ask a question about the distant learning. I understand that students will be in school next year physically, but there's always been a virtual platform for parents to consider.
Yes, absolutely. Virtual school has always been an option available through Florida Virtual is one platform that is the state's virtual school program. So that's always been an option. What the pandemic and through the subsequent executive orders provided for was some degree of flexible funding, where there is full funding for students who are on virtual. That has a significant impact in the district's decision-making and fiscal position. So that did come into play. That flexible funding will no longer be available. Secondly, the state of Florida did provide virtual options for students and parents, but also provided physical options in the same capacity. That will no longer be available through the normal educational program. It is going to be a physical program, again, unless a parent chooses to attend a virtual school program that is outside of the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. But as a district, our unified modality, our singular modality will be a physical classroom setting with students in buildings, teachers in buildings, and staff in buildings, and leaders in buildings. And we will move forward through that particular process as is being moved throughout the state of Florida.
Excellent. And just for the viewers right now, we are live. So we have Dr. Gallen for a few more moments. If you did have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. We'll get him to see if he can address those. We have him for a few more minutes. Before we get off, Dr. Gallen, let's talk about equity. I know you proffered a bill or legislation a while back where you were looking for equity as it relates to procurement. How are we doing with that? Because there was a nice bit of conversation at that school board meeting on Wednesday night in regards to that. And of course, you raised, and I see that the district has awarded a notification for construction contracts for 4 GOB projects valued at over $22 million.
Yeah. The issue of equity and access obviously speaks a lot of times to education in terms of us providing for equitable educational opportunities for our students. And I just have to say very quickly, this was a sharp pivot from what we historically have asked for as Black people. Historically, during the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and with the Brown versus the Board of Education, we were always asking for equal opportunities. But what we found is that because of historical deprivations, because of historical disenfranchisement of opportunities, many of our children, many of our communities, and many of our people, we don't need the same, we need more because we've been left behind for so long. Because of issues of systemic racism, issues of social and economic deprivation and disenfranchisement, our students need more. So educational equity has now been at the forefront of the national discourse around closing the achievement gap and related matters. I've always posited that you cannot have one without the other. And when I made a commitment to run in 2016, my focus was not only on educational equity, but also economic parity. We're a $5+ billion business. In 2012, we passed a $1.2 billion bond. And that bond was not only predicated on a promise to build new buildings and enhance our facilities and to upgrade technology. That bond passage was predicated on an opportunity to provide opportunities for small Black and minority-owned businesses. So it was a bifurcated promise. So we cannot just simply celebrate the erection of new buildings without looking at whether or not we've elevated parity with respect to Black, minority, and women-owned businesses. That is based on not what Steve Gallen said, but based on what our own disparity study revealed. So yes, we have a ways to go. The data had shown that we were less than 5% of Black-owned businesses having an opportunity to work with the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Obviously, that number has moved up, but we have a tremendous way to go. So what you consistently hear is my voice making sure that we stay on the mark relative to those opportunities being afforded in a very fair, transparent, and equitable way, and that we remain accountable to the promises that we made. Obviously, promises that were made before I got on the board, but promises that I made when I ran for the board, and promises that I plan to keep as long as I am on this board and even beyond. Because I do believe in economic equity, I do believe in educational equity, and I do believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. So we cannot celebrate the success of our district if every sector, if every zip code, if every business, if every family cannot participate equally and equitably in that success as well.
Absolutely. And thank you for being that champion and that voice on that board. I want to welcome Chris Norwood to the show. He has a question. He says, congratulations to Dr. Gallen for his election as chairman of CUBE, a national organization of urban school districts. His question is, what is your vision for term as chairman? Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Norwood. It's interesting that you asked that question. We had a CUBE virtual meeting on yesterday. Our conference, our national conference, will be in a physical forum in Atlanta this coming September. So we're very excited to return to our annual conference. The last physical conference that we had was in Miami, and it was the one that was the largest attended conference in CUBE's 50-plus year history. So I'm very proud and humbled to have been elected as the chair of the Council of Urban Boards of Education. So my vision, Mr. Norwood, is for us to now elevate that national discourse around the issues of equity and opportunity for children across school boards around this country. Yes, we understand the role that teachers play. We understand the roles that administrators play. We also understand the roles that superintendents play. And I understand that role very well, having served as a superintendent. I've been a teacher. I've been a principal. But now I'm a board member. And I understand that the pulpit of a board member, the platform that a school board member has, not only in Miami-Dade County, but in urban centers around the country, provides a tremendous opportunity to set policy to address issues of academic and economic equity. So we want to be a larger voice around those particular issues. Yes, we understand that we work collectively with the National School Board Association, of which I'm also a member of that board of directors. But our issues and our challenges and our obligations at the urban center educational level is different. And we have to deal with that. And I will say parenthetically, Jessica, there was a lot of discourse around the conference being held in Atlanta because of some of the draconian laws that have been passed at the state level. But what we decided and what I decided when I called the meeting about a month or so ago is that we were not going to run away from that discourse. We were going to run to it. We were going to lean into that particular conversation to support Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, to support the people in Atlanta, Georgia, and to bring our presence, our voices, and yes, our resources and our revenue to support and stimulate that local economy. To leave Atlanta out of that equation would run counter to all of the things that we have fought for. Yes, we don't support all of the laws that are being passed in Georgia, but as I indicated to my board on yesterday, you have those laws in every state around this country. So we're going to have to go to those cities, be a voice and amplify and speak loudly around issues of educating children who are poor children, who are Black, and children who are minority in urban centers throughout this country. So that is my vision, to amplify and elevate that discourse at the national level. And as you know, I do it in a very unapologetic way.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Keep it up, Dr. Gallen. Keep it up. Stay encouraged. And we appreciate everything that you are doing. And we want to always have our door wide open here at The Culture for you. Anything that you need to get out to the community, we just want to be a vehicle to assist in you getting the message out to our viewers. And thank you all for joining us today. This is going to wrap it up for The Culture. You're welcome to come back and join us tonight live at 6 p.m. for My 2 Cents. It'll be another fun night. Grab a drink, let your hair down, and come and hang out with us.
The Culture is produced and owned by Hip Rock Star Media and cannot be reproduced or broadcast without written consent by Jessica Garrett Modkins. All rights reserved 2020.